Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. So, extending off of the June 25th edition of AEW Dynamite, we are 17 days away, just over 2 weeks away from the biggest show AEW's ever done in North America. Suppose this is the third edition of their stadium show, which is their WrestleMania, if you will, and it doesn't feel like it. And I talked about Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm kind of like, evolving and like, escalating their feud a little bit, but it felt kind of minor. Uh, the one feud that really got some heat to it was Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. If you guys remember a couple weeks ago, they made the match official. They signed the contract, the summer blockbuster. And then the big twist was Don Callas aligning with Kazuchika Okada, ultimately leading to the attack on Kenny Omega and his midsection, his diverticulitis. They have the fake blood. It was kind of comic. It was a good angle, and they had a nice video package to supplement it to make it feel like a big deal. So we are now 2 weeks since that happened, and we have seen absolutely, positively nothing happen. Nothing happened. Kenny Omega was off television for the second week in a row. I don't like that. I think that's lazy. I think that's stupid. I do not care that they have faced each other multiple times, and we are hanging and banking on the fact that these two are going to deliver a banger match. It's the same principle that I have with Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm. They haven't even faced each other. Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada faced each other 4 times, but they haven't wrestled in 7 years. They haven't wrestled each other in 7 years. And you do this big angle. I didn't think Don Callis needed to be added to this. And, he has a match with Mark Briscoe, and then we get the shot. He joins the Don Callis, and Kotto Ibushi is the new piece to this whole thing. And now we're getting Ibushi and Okada on Dynamite 300. I'm presuming that that's going to be the point where Kenny Omega is going to come back. But by that point, you've wasted 2 weeks of television without having Kenny Omega there. And I understand, well, he's selling his ribs. Guys, that point is null and void when you had Will Ospreay get fucking kicked in the head with thumbtacks on the same exact episode, and he's back wrestling multiple matches. I understand midsection and head are a little bit different, but at least have some consistency here. Taking Kenny Omega off of television, to me, it was a good angle, but taking him off of television for this feud when Okada doesn't really speak very good English, and Don Callis was nowhere to be found on this show, which was another epic whiff. So it's like the whole reason you got Don there was to give Okada a mouthpiece. And now here we are. We're 17 days away from this show from what could potentially be an argument for your main event. I don't know if it's going to be, it's either, to me, it's either this or it's going to be Moxley and Hangman. I think it's going to be Moxley and Hangman. That's just my gut feel. I think the World Championship goes out over a unification match of 2 mid-card titles or lower mid-card titles, whatever you want to look at them. But I'm really disappointed at what, considering how lazy Tony Khan has been. Like, I understand he loves Japanese pro wrestling and he couldn't wait to get this match on his card. He wanted to do it last year, but Kenny, obviously the health was a problem. And now they're doing this. It's on first time on American soil. It's a big deal. I get it. But at a certain point, you have got to build some sort of a story. This is not Japan, okay? You can't just have all your stories be in the ring. You've got to give us a reason. And then you've got this built-in thing where Don Callis is, I didn't like it, but you've got this built-in thing where Don Callis aligns with Okada. Don Callis, and he aligns with the biggest rival, and then you also have the Young Bucks there who put Okada in Kenny's spot in the Elite. Like, you've got things there that you could tackle into a story, but they've done nothing. And hey, cool. We get Kotto Ibushi back on television. He looked great. He's one of Kenny Omega's best friends. Kenny Omega's not there. Yeah, he's going to face Okada next week. Cool. And then what? You're going to be left with basically, if Kenny comes back in there, then at that point, you're going to have 1 week to build this thing. And you've wasted time. To me, that is a fail. And that is creative malpractice. I don't care if they faced each other 3 times and they have a match count. Guys, they haven't wrestled in 7 years. 7 years is a long time. A very long time. we really haven't seen a truly great Okada performance in AEW yet. As a full-time AEW wrestler, he had some good. He had a good match with Danielson at Forbidden Door a couple years ago. That was maybe it wasn't like as epic as people would have wanted it to be. But it was a great match. It was a good match. But since he officially signed and was a member of the Elite back last year, I don't think he's truly had an epic, amazing performance. Maybe Ospreay in the Continental Classic final at World's End at the end of the year. That's about it. Like, he's had some good performances, but there haven't been like any of these like 6-7 star Okada performances. It's almost like he's holding back and operating in like first gear and waiting for this Omega match to happen to see if he has one great performance. They're really setting themselves up to fail here because the build has not lived up to the match that these two guys have. I understand what this feud means to a lot of fans. I understand it's going to probably be more likely than not a great match. Kenny Omega is fucking incredible. Okada, I've seen some of his earlier stuff. I'd like to think he still has something good in it. He hasn't really shown me much in AEW. But what the fuck is this? Since that big angle, and I understand that you've got to sell it, but keeping Kenny Omega, like, you could easily have him film something in a hospital or you could have like some sort of like camera crew with him or something. Do something to give us an update on Kenny Omega. Rather than just not have him there, you can reference him faintly that the match is happening, but there's nothing. We had no follow-up to that attack. None from the Kenny Omega side. And that is a fail. I've said this again, when you are building big matches on big shows, you have got to put effort into it, okay? And I understand, outside of some of the big matches at WWE, they didn't do a really good job of building the WrestleMania on their end either. But the difference is WWE still sold tickets. That's not the greatest excuse in the world, but you've got half a stadium filled. Half a baseball stadium filled with 17 days to go. And Okada and Omega is on this card. And it does not feel like an Okada-Omega match should feel, considering what these guys mean to professional wrestling, what these two guys mean clearly, and this match means clearly to Tony Khan. He may say that he cares, but it seems like he is just content with putting this match on the build and letting these guys go out and cook, rather than trying to make it more epic by telling a compelling story. That is my issue with this, okay? Again, like I said, I do not doubt that these guys can put together a compelling match, but if something, God forbid, goes wrong and they fail, which I don't think will happen, then you're left to look at, hey, we could have made this feud better and made it feel like more important, and now we're just literally hanging on the fact that these guys are going to go deliver a compelling match in Texas. And that shouldn't be the way it is. I think it's lazy what they've done. It's good to see Kotto Ibushi back in the storyline. That was a big surprise. But if that's your big twist after the Don Callas alliance with Okada, that's not what this feud should be. We've known that this match was going to happen for 6 months when Kenny Omega came back in December. They didn't even try to build this until literally like June. They literally did not even care to book this until this month. Like, for God's sake, Okada and Omega were on the same card at friggin', they were on the same damn card at Double or Nothing. Kenny Omega was trying to kill people in Anarchy in the Arena, and Okada's having a match with Speedball Mike Bailey. And now you take Omega off television, and you've had all this time. You just wasted people's time. I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.